Welcome to the MamasteFit YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be breaking down our top tips to have an unmedicated birth if that is your birth desire. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Gina. I am a birth doula and a perinatal fitness trainer. So I train folks throughout their pregnancy. I support them during their birth, and then I train them in the postpartum period. And I've had 2 unmedicated births myself. Both were at home.
And I'm Roxanne. I'm a labor and delivery nurse and a student midwife, and I have had 3 unmedicated births. 2 were in a hospital and 1 was in a birth center.
So Roxanne and I have not only had our own unmedicated birth, so we've gone through this experience, but we've also supported like hundreds of folks in person during their labors. Not all of them had unmedicated births, but a good portion of them have had an unmedicated birth. So we have some experience if this is your birth desire. The first thing, know that you can do it. You can do it. It's not about how fit you are or your pain tolerance. It's just about believing that this is something that is available to you. And it might start with first kind of breaking down the common myths that you might have or common beliefs that you might have about birth. I know when I was growing up, it was like really pushed on me that this was like a curse placed on women for eating an apple or something. And so that was just like really ingrained in me very deeply that childbirth was going to be the most painful experience of my life. And I would not say it was the most painful thing that I've ever experienced. It was not something that I would do every day. Like I don't want to be in labor every day, but I liked it enough to do it multiple times, and I am planning to do it again. So I would not say that labor is the most painful thing that I've ever experienced. I would still describe it as a painful experience, but it's purposeful. There's a reason for your contractions to happen. We need our contractions to help our baby move down into our pelvis, for our cervix to dilate, and to eventually push our baby up. The next thing is you can anticipate it. You know when the next contraction is going to come. It's not going to happen randomly and out of nowhere and surprise you. You can anticipate and prepare for your next contraction. It's intermittent, so it's not constant or nonstop pain. And I think sometimes we have this belief that labor is like 30 hours of just nonstop pain. It's really only a minute long, your contraction, which has a varying level of intensity and pain. And then you have like 2 or 3 minutes of break. And in early labor, you have even longer of a break in between them. So if you think about it over like a 24-hour time frame, of that 24 hours, only like a third of it is contractions. And of that, only a smaller portion of it is even like really intense parts of the contraction. So it's not necessarily 30 hours of labor. Maybe it's only like 3 hours of contractions. That math might be wrong. I don't know. But it's intermittent. It's not constant pain. And the last thing is it's necessary. We need uterine contractions in order for our babies to be born. And so if we can kind of reframe the way that we think about labor pain and labor contractions, it can help you approach birth with a lot more confidence, understanding that it is not the most painful thing that you've ever been through. And it's not going to be just excruciating nonstop pain. There's breaks, and I would not describe it. I had a kidney stone. I was like vomiting and sweating with that thing. And like that was the most pain I've ever been in my life, because it was just excruciating nonstop pain for like 20 minutes. And I was like, if that is labor, I'm done. We are not having a baby. But it's not. Labor is not excruciating, and it's not nonstop pain. So yeah, what are your tips?
Some of my biggest tips for preparing for an unmedicated birth is, number 1, preparing mentally for having a unmedicated birth. A lot of it is, yes, it's painful, and learning to cope with those painful contractions is important, but also like kind of tricking our mind and learning ways to trick our mind that we can stay relaxed and that these contractions aren't going to end. Because when you're at like hour 12 of your labor or hour 24 of your labor, it's not like your intensity of your contractions necessarily are getting worse over that time period, like exponentially worse. But it's like after 24 hours, like that is a long time to do something. And then all of these, like your mind starts to play tricks on you to kind of tell you like, oh, you can't do this anymore. But if you've prepared your whole pregnancy for that mental game, you can overcome that obstacle.
Another tip that I have if you're wanting an unmedicated birth is going to be to have a code word and a code action. At some point during your labor, you are probably going to want some sort of pain relief, because you're going to tell yourself that this is never going to end and you don't want to do this anymore. And for some of you, it may be a coping mechanism to ask for help or to ask for pain relief or for an epidural during a contraction. Even for myself at home, So at some point during my labor, I was like, how far is the hospital and how quickly can I get an epidural? And at that point, I knew it was too late. I was going to push my baby out. So I did not go to the hospital and get an epidural. But at some point, I think probably do most people's labors, they think about, I think I would like to opt out, please. And so having a code word in action that you have to say in between contractions and calmly can help your team know and help you know that this is something that you really want. And so the code word has to be like a weird thing, like purple elephant or yellow flamingo. And you could also add in a code action. So you could squeeze your partner's hand 3 times. But the key is you have to say it in between contractions, and you have to say the code word with the code action. And this lets your team know that you're serious and that you are changing your mind. Because again, it could just be a coping mechanism during contractions to say, I just need some help. I just want some pain relief. I want the epidural. But then in between contractions, you may not want it anymore. It was just something that you were thinking about during the contraction. So code word and code action can be a really helpful thing to include in your birth preparation so that you can let your team know that you are serious about wanting to change your mind. And also, it takes a lot to figure out what that word is and to do the code word action. So that could also kind of delay you until you have a baby.
Another tip is learning every labor comfort measure that you could possibly enjoy during labor. So like getting a TENS machine, having a heat pack, learning all the counter pressures, like what is your hospital offer that you can use for labor comfort? Is there a tub? Is there a shower? Like what can you use for labor comfort measures? Because during labor, when you have a contraction, if after a while you're like thinking about that epidural, change comfort measures. Be like, oh, I've been using this TENS for a while and now I'm thinking about like maybe I need something else for pain. Get in the shower, get in the tub, do counter pressure. Like you have all of this like list of labor comfort techniques that can be useful during labor, and you just like start going down the list. And you personally might not be like, hey, let's do counter pressure now, or let's do this now. This is like the job of your partner and your support team that's there supporting you during birth. Like they have this list of the comfort techniques that you really like, and they start being like, hey, I know you look like you might want to change comfort techniques. How about let's get in the tub, or how about let's get in the shower? Maybe let's try the heat pack. And they can go through and cycle through all these labor comfort techniques instead of going straight for that epidural because they have the tools available.
Another tip that I have to have an unmedicated birth is to trick yourself. So one, your mind will try to trick you during the contractions to tell you that it's never going to end and that you can't do this, but you could trick your own mind by lying to yourself and telling yourself that the contractions are only 10 seconds long. And so with the contraction, if you've ever had a Charlie horse, it's a similar building wave-like sensation. I would not describe a labor contraction as the same thing as a Charlie horse, but you feel it build, it peaks, and then it releases. But that peak is the most intense part of the Charlie horse. And it's the same for a labor contraction. You're going to feel it build. It's not that bad. And then it peaks, and it's a little bad, and then it releases. And you still kind of feel it, but it's not bad anymore. But that peak is only like 10 seconds long. And so if you tell yourself that contractions are only 10 seconds and I only really need to relax and release for 10 seconds, it feels very doable. You are 100% lying to yourself, but it's a mental strategy that you can use to help you cope with contraction. And it's something that I use personally during my own labors, right? Told myself, okay, it's building, let it build, let it build. Okay, it's peaking. I'm going to relax and release and release and release. And then when it started to let go, I was like, it's done. It's over. That contraction's gone, even though I'm still having a contraction. So you just gotta trick your mind that's trying to trick you back. So that's one of my, that's a good mental tip of mine.
And probably our last tip, and we might be a little bit biased, but taking a childbirth education course that is not the one offered by your hospital, because they're going to have all of these different tools available to you to not just coping with labor, but like understanding labor. Because I find one of the biggest things with unmedicated birth is that we have a lot of fear around childbirth in our like country or society. Like childbirth is this really feared experience that it's like super painful and like no one should do it without pain relief. But understanding what is happening within your body, ways that you can support your body, and ways that other people can support you while you're going through labor that you learn in a childbirth education can be really, really helpful for having that unmedicated birth as well. And we are obviously biased. We have a really great online self-paced childbirth education course that goes over all of these different ways to support you during labor, as well as understanding what is actually happening in your body during labor. We offer it online, self-paced, as well as in person here at our facility in Aberdeen, North Carolina. And you can use code YouTube10 for 10% off any of our courses and programs as a thank you for listening to our video.
And I know Roxanne said that that was the last tip, but I have one more tip. And so the common thing that you will hear when you maybe share that you're wanting an unmedicated birth is that there's no trophy for not getting an epidural. You don't get a gold star. Why would you put yourself through this pain? And so while no, you will not get like a gold star on your patient report or your sheet or whatever, your medical records, and no one's gonna hand you a trophy because you didn't get an epidural, but there are benefits to having an unmedicated birth. One, you just feel super powerful. You just pushed a baby out of your body unmedicated. You can feel the whole experience. Not everybody wants to feel the whole thing. I think it's really cool to experience the contractions and feel my baby move through my body. I don't love it when it happens, but afterwards I'm really excited by it. But pushing is super intense and powerful. And then I'm pulling my baby from my body. And then what I can do, not Roxanne because she has postpartum hemorrhage, is I can jump up out from the bed and I can go take a shower right away with my unmedicated birth. My first birth was an epidural. I did feel like I healed a lot quicker and easier with my second two. It might just be because they were my second two babies and the labors were slightly shorter, but I do feel like there was a lot more interventions with my epidural that I didn't have with my unmedicated births. And so I think that contributed towards an easier postpartum recovery for me personally. So getting an epidural is not a bad thing. It is a tool that is available to you. But just because you don't get an award for having an unmedicated birth does not mean it doesn't have to be worth it to you. And you don't have to have a super clear explanation of why you want to have an unmedicated birth. It may just be something that you want to accomplish and experience for yourself, and that is totally fine. You don't need to explain yourself to anybody if that is your birth desire. So thank you for watching this video. We hope that these few tips help you as you're preparing for your birth. And again, if you want to dive deeper into some ways to help you prepare for an unmedicated birth, if that is your desire, we do have an online childbirth education course. We will break down the science of birth so we can take away the mystery. Not everything is a secret when it comes to birth. While we can't completely plan for what happens, we can at least understand what a contraction is. What are the different parts for your uterus? How does your pelvis open? And we can understand all of the things that are happening within our body so that we can take the fear away and we can be more confident as we approach our birth experience. You can check out our childbirth education course on our website at mamastefit.com/childbirth, or you can check out the show notes. And again, you can use code YouTube10 to get 10% off. If you want to bundle our childbirth education course with our prenatal fitness programs and pellet floor prep course, you can, and you get 15% off. And then if you add on that 10% code, it's like 25% off. It's like it's pretty much free at that point. Our prenatal fitness program is going to incorporate a lot of movements to not only keep you strong throughout your pregnancy, also keep you comfortable. Pain is not a requirement of pregnancy. I feel like that should just be our slogan or our model. I'm going to put it in my email signature blocks, put it in a t-shirt. And it also includes pelvic opening exercises to help you prepare to open your pelvis for birth. We don't need to wait to birth to figure out how to open our pelvis. We can do it during pregnancy with our prenatal fitness program. So check all that out on our website. If you liked this video, hopefully you do if you're listening to it this long, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you get notified whenever we release new videos. Like the video and comment below if there's anything else that you want us to create a video for. So thanks for listening. Thank you.